Here for you guys, FPL, regular FPL, kind of prep us for game week 2. It's going to start pretty soon here on Friday. I'm recording this, very late Wednesday night, so about a day and a half or a little bit over a day, right? Only. Whatever. It's late, bro. Whatever. I'm not going to do day math right now, but here are the results for game week 1. Pretty okay-ish score. Obviously, we didn't use any chips. Okay, 55, no chips used. Decent enough. Okay, decent enough, I'd say. Yeah, the average I think went up by 2 points or so. Last time I looked, it was like at like 50. Still, 55 is whatever. Nobody had any really crazy scores. I saw some pretty decent bench boosts. Like 70 plus, 80s. Very rare, but I saw some people hit 90s and obviously have like those crazy scores of 100 or whatever. Those are the people that are, they just made a team for one game week. Ignore all that crap if you guys are new to FPL and you saw those teams already. Newsflash, like those people make like 20, 30 teams. Obviously, when you triple captain every player in the game, one of them's going to hit, right? And you're going to get a good score. But I mean, here, I'm not worried about Ballard. Has a good game week coming up. Good goal from Gavardio. Obviously, it kind of sucks a little bit that I had Gahey switched for Gavardio. Gahey looks like he's going to be potentially playing a little bit more advanced, but whatever. That Arsenal double clean sheet hit. Palmer apparently could have sustained a calf injury. I don't think it's anything serious, okay? I think he's good to go here for game week 2. Verts obviously got subbed early. Not great, right? He didn't have a good game. I'm one of the believers that wants to believe in Verts. Feels like he can bounce back pretty quickly and have a good season, but stuff like this is not going to help him, right? Bad games and he gets subbed off in the 60th something minute. Same with Foden. I feel like Foden looked a little bit more threatening than Verts. Had like zero point 0.5 XGA, but still, right? Cherky came in, looked way better than him. Holland obviously disappointing. Had the chances, clear chances, and then JP Palmer, paid. They paid my confidence in them. They made it worth it. So Richards had like 16 DEFCONs. What do you know? A lot of people are starting to look at him now. We had him here on the bench. He's going to be a real nice rotation piece for us, okay? Same thing with Slater. Look at the bench, Pretty decent bench pieces that I have here. And, yeah, it goes to show that, the people that I picked for bench rotation and coverage, pretty good picks as of right now, okay? Let's go to what matters, game week 2. Here are the fixtures on the screen. Crystal Palace, Manchester City kicks off game week 2. Friday, like I said, 3 p.m. here, kickoff in Eastern U.S. time. I think in the UK, we're looking at like 8, right? 9 p.m. kickoff. Yeah, I think City could probably bounce back here, or not bounce back. They won the game. I don't think they deserved 100% to win this game, this result. They had their set piece goal and stuff, but Bournemouth honestly let that a draw or a win slip by, in my opinion, more than anything. Great counterattacks from Bournemouth there, but I feel like City created their chances, but they didn't look super convincing. I'll just say that, okay? Maybe I'm wrong in saying City didn't produce. I feel like they did produce the score, but not the most convincing City side we've seen, right? Obviously, here, I'll be honest, I didn't watch Crystal Palace play against Everton. I'll be very honest with you guys. They lost, obviously, to Everton. I feel like here, last year at least, in this matchup, Manchester City went to Selhurst Park and they won. I think it was like 3-1, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just going to stick. I don't know about that scoreline of 3-1, but I feel like City are slight favorites here. I'd say 1 goal favorites here, okay? Just on what we know, the quality that City has in their lineup, but I feel like Palace are a very competent side. Could we see an upset here? I wouldn't count it out, but yeah, I think City favorites. Liverpool Forest. Liverpool obviously didn't look great at all. If it wasn't for that pen, they would have obviously lost the game. Newcastle kind of had a very good performance in the counterattack. I feel like Liverpool produced. They produced decently well, but obviously couldn't, translate that into a whole lot of goals. I feel like, yeah, Newcastle kind of took advantage, hit them on the counter hard. They're gonna have to be more objective. I think Liverpool. Same thing with kind of Man City. I think they had the possession and stuff and put themselves in good positions. But if you look at that, first goal from Elanga, straight counterattack. City as well. I forgot who lost the ball, but again, like a counterattack goal from Tavernier. It's stuff like that. Both of those sides, very similarly, they got to be more objective when they have the ball when they're in offense. Here, in Anfield, Forest didn't look amazing their first game. I'd put slight favoritism towards Liverpool. Kind of the same case as City, slight favoritism, but nothing where I'm super confident, okay? Bournemouth and Everton. I really like this Bournemouth side. I don't know what it is. Marco Rose, great coach. I remember following him in Leipzig. I watched the Bundesliga a lot. Something is telling me that this Bournemouth side could potentially outperform Iriola's Bournemouth side. I don't know what it is. I feel like they could be really good. It's not just they had a decent enough performance here game week 1. It's just their roster, the way they play. Clearly gonna play counterattack ball. They could be even. I feel like they could finish in an even better position this year than Iraola and surprise a lot of people that think they're not gonna be as good. Okay. I feel like they're favorites here against Everton in Vitality. I think still called Vitality, right? Their home stadium. I think they're favorites here against Everton, okay? Maybe holding a clean sheet, maybe not. We could be looking at a 2-1 score for Bournemouth, okay? Maybe a 2-0 if they're efficient enough. But I feel like they're a goal that probably a team that probably gets scored on here, okay? Coventry, Hull City. This is a matchup of two promoted teams, right? I think in the EFL last year, this matchup they tied one, but it was like a 2-2, and then the other game was like a 0-0. I could be completely mistaken. That's just off of the small research that I did when I was looking at their players and stuff. But yeah, Coventry obviously lost pretty badly to Arsenal, but it is Arsenal. It's tough to get a full assessment off of a team losing to the championship, to the Premier League winners, right? At home, away, right? In Emirates, right? Hull City obviously beat Man United, surprised a lot of people, but yeah, I don't think it's easy to put favoritism in any of these two teams. I think it's a very even matchup here. Okay, I feel like a matchup that could potentially end at a 0-0 draw. I feel like I could see Coventry winning as well, like a slim 1-0 win. I definitely don't see a lot of goals, though. I don't think I see a lot of goals here. I'm just going to stick with that. Maybe a 0-0, okay? Around that. Spurs, Newcastle. Obviously, Spurs did not look great. I wasn't confident at all going into match day 1 into Spurs. Sure enough, they proved me to be right with their performance against Brentford. That could change, obviously. That could change. We have one game, sample size as of right now, but against Newcastle, like I said, looked pretty decent on the counterattack at least. Here, who knows who's going to take protagonism and have ball possession, but I feel like this is a weird game to call. I feel like Spurs could definitely have a good answer here. But yeah, it's pretty murky matchup here. Maybe like a 1-1, maybe like a 2-1 Newcastle. I'd be very surprised if Spurs just go and answer with like a comfortable win here. I don't think that's gonna be the case. I could be wrong. Okay, Chelsea obviously did their part against Fulham. Got scored on more than once, but did their part here against Brighton. Let's see. I feel like Chelsea. I feel like there's goals for both sides here. I feel like both teams score. Tough to call, honestly. I could see this game being a 2-2 with 4 goals. I could see a 3-2 for Chelsea, producing a lot of goals as well. Maybe something around those lines. Okay, I see goals in this matchup. Leeds and Brentford, 2-2. I'll just go ahead and say 2-2. Okay, Sunderland Fulham. I feel like Sunderland are favorites. Obviously, in the Stadium of Light last year, they showed that they can be a very strong side, very good defensive side too. 1-0, 1-0 simple Sunderland win. I'll say that. Man United, I feel like they answer their poor performance in game week 1. They have an answer here against Ipswich in Old Trafford. I could see this game being a 2-0 win for United, okay? Villa Arsenal. I'm going to say 1-0 Arsenal. Just 1-0. Keeping a clean sheet. I'll just say that, okay? Here are some names of my position that I think are interesting. Obviously, this is specifically for game week 2, okay? Haaland. In this matchup against Palace in Selhurst Park last year, he had 2 goals. Haaland obviously did not do much besides miss a lot of good chances in game week 1. I feel like he's probably going to want to have an answer here. He's probably going to want to get on the board in the Premier League here. I'd be very surprised if he goes, blank on the score sheet again. Okay, back-to-back games, okay? Isak, again, looked very good in preseason. Didn't look so good in game week 1. I feel like he could have, same case as Haaland, could have a really nice answer, really nice bounce-back game here in Anfield against Forest, okay? Evan Nilsson, like I said, Bournemouth to me looked like they could be a real good side this year. Evan Nilsson could get on the end of those chances, find the back of the net. Tayo Awoniyi obviously looks like he's going to play as the starting 9 for Coventry. I'm recording this, like I said, on Wednesday, okay? Well, it's already into Thursday. That's how late I'm recording, but it was Tuesday, okay? On the 25th, Tuesday, they played a EFL Cup game, Coventry against Plymouth Argyle, and he had a goal and assist. So we know with Tayo Awoniyi, we know that he can produce. If you catch him, if you play him in the right matchup, he can produce some real good points for you. He's obviously not consistent, I'd say, but if you catch him at the right time, I think he can produce goals, okay? McBurney had an assist last game. This is a guy that had 25 goal involvements, right, in the EFL last year. In a matchup which is basically an EFL matchup if you think about it, 2 promoted sides. Why not? I think it could be a good option. Wissa looked really good, okay? Wissa looks like he can have a real nice season. Like I said, open game against Spurs. Even Stevens, I think, okay? Broadby, good name, I think. Like I said, 1-0 win is what I predict for Sunderland. Could definitely be more than that. I think Sunderland are favorites. Broadby could be on the end of those chances, right? Calvert-Lewin, good name. Like I said, I see goals here for Leeds against Brentford. Calvert-Lewin, we know he usually gets his chances, okay? Thiago, like I said, missed the pen this first game. I feel like Thiago's true colors are, showing. And I said that a lot of times last season, how he's just overperforming a lot, whole bunch of penalties. It's not to say that he's not a good option anymore and he's done for, but, it's just be careful. Don't overhype Thiago to what he is. He's just Brentford's number 9, a team that definitely can score a good amount of goals, and that's what he is, okay? Don't make him to be more than that, okay? João Pedro looked really good against Fulham. We know this. João Pedro, you guys know how much I like him. Had him beginning of last season, have him the beginning of this season. He produced already. Is João Pedro, to me, up there with Haaland, 2 best forwards in the game. End of story, okay? Midfielders, Cherki and Foden, like I said. I feel like both of them could start together in this matchup. Foden last year scored in this matchup in Selhurst Park. Could be a good name, okay? I doubt he gets benched just off of one bad performance. I'd be very surprised, okay? Anderson, Defcons, the odd goal involvement, who knows? Not my favorite name, but he's a name. Semenyo, name that I like as well a lot for City. Virtue, Buzzlight, like I said, and Gakpo, all those 3 mids for Liverpool. They could have a nice bounce-back game here in Anfield. Gibbs White is questionable right now. I don't know if he's dealing with like a physical issue. I'm not too sure. He could be a decent enough name. Maybe Forrest find the back of the net as well. It's looking like that could be the case in this game, okay? Jack Redoni for Coventry. He's their number 9. He's kind of their number 10 attacking mid. Plenty of goals, plenty of assists last season in the EFL. Like I said, in a matchup like this where it's basically an EFL, open matchup, why not? He could be a good name, okay? Tavernier, we saw him score. In this matchup, I feel like he's a really strong name as well. Like I said, favorites, I feel like Bournemouth are favorites here. Clivert, why not? It was Tavernier that got the goal in game week 1. It could very well be Clivert that gets his goal here in game week 2. Who knows? Dewsbury Hall is okay, right? He's a do it all kind of mid. But like I said, favoritism here, in my opinion, is Bournemouth, okay? And Jai, kind of the same deal on pens, right? I think he's on pens for Everton. I could be mistaken, but yeah, I'd probably prefer the Bournemouth guys here, but it could be that Everton get on the score sheet with these guys, right? Barnes and Alanga, like I said, they looked really good for Newcastle. They could be good names here again. Um, it's Tottenham, dude, and I don't think they're very trustworthy right now. So Enzo Lafie, alternative to Brobbey in the midfield, I think, guy that takes penalties for Sunderland. So very strong name, I think. Okay, Shada, Dango, names for Brentford, right? Sangare as well. Don't get too overhyped with these Sangare assists. I know he got a brace of assists, but if you guys watched the game, you saw what those assists are. Very much FPL assists. At least the second one was complete FPL assists, right? He just happened to shoot the ball. The keeper rebounded, saved his shot, and then the ball rebounded and got left for, a tap in for, I forgot who it was that scored that second Brentford goal. So technically it was an assist, but let's be honest, that's just a FPL assist. And yeah, I mean, it's just fortunate series of events for Sangare owners. He could end up being a very strong pick. Like I said, we just have one game sample size, but I feel like he's definitely a name with his DEFCON numbers, and didn't look too bad. Okay, in game week 1, Wilson and Anton Stock, good names for Leeds, right? Anton Stock set piece, Wilson more of a goal threat, goal contribution threat. Palmer, Rogers, pretty simple, goes unsaid. We saw what they did in game week 1. Looks like the Palmer Rogers show could be on for a good amount of times during the season. So here again potentially. Bruno looks like a real strong name. Okay, looks like a real strong name here for game week 2. He could definitely be in the back of some of those goals. Okay, or goal involvements, right? For Man United, like I said, I think they're favorites here. He could be the guy behind those goals. Okay. Embuemo, same thing I just said for Bruno, works for Embuemo. Okay, Cunha, I think he's more of a risk to not be in the starting lineup than these other two guys, Embuemo, Bruno, but he's a name for sure. Rashford, same deal. Zalas looked pretty good, right, for Arsenal. Like I said, Arsenal here, to me, are favorites against Villa, even though they're in Villa Park. I think Arsenal are favorites. He's a name for sure. Okay, Rice. I think Rice is a name as well. Guy that can get you some goals, some assists, some DEFCON, do it all kind of mid. Yeah, this could be a haul coming for Rice, in my opinion. I don't see why not against Villa here. Saka, same deal. Okay. Yeah. Defenders, like Gavardi and Gehi, I think City could end up keeping a clean sheet here. I think it's 50-50, the Palace clean sheet, but they're good names, especially Gehi if he keeps playing advanced in the CDM position, right? Like he did game one. Nunes, good pick for City as well. Get you some assists potentially, a clean sheet potentially. Van Dijk, like I said, Liverpool to me are favorites in this matchup. Maybe they keep a clean sheet, but he doesn't really depend on the clean sheet. A guy that obviously gets a whole lot of DEFCON points and is obviously a huge aerial threat, goal threat for Liverpool, right? Kirkes, like I said, you're looking for a clean sheet there, potentially an assist. I prefer Van Dijk, okay? Same goes for Jackie and Araujo. And it's kind of murky going for Jackie Araujo because guys can see there. It's very much a 50-50 decision. I don't know if you ask me who's going to start, okay? I'd imagine Araujo, but who knows, okay? Frimpong, same deal as Kirkes. Could be a decent enough bet for one game week, why not? I don't know if I'd have Frimpong as a transfer in for long-term purposes, but if you're kind of just in a one match day gamble, I like Frimpong, okay? Van Uwijk, good. Obviously, the fullback for Coventry in a matchup like this. I think there's a real good chance he holds a clean sheet, okay, at home against Hull City. He's a guy that's obviously shown in the last EFL season can produce a lot of assists, okay. Amenda, I followed him a lot in Frankfurt. He played last season for Frankfurt. Obviously, I play Bundesliga Fantasy, so followed him closely. He's a guy that gets a lot of kind of defensive actions. I think he was one off of hitting DEFCON this first game. He's a guy that could potentially hit DEFCON pretty often here for us, okay. Just a heads up, don't be surprised if he starts to consistently hit DEFCON. He's a guy that I like a lot. Like I said, real good odds of clean sheet here, but like I said, he could also hit DEFCON, so a guy that could get you points either way, I think, here, okay? Egan and Mendy, maybe not a clean sheet. I don't think it's impossible. I think it could get a clean sheet. But they showed this game week 1 that they could get a lot of DEFCONs. Both of these guys, a whole lot of DEFCONs. Crazy clearance points, numbers for Egan. I went and looked at his, stats. I think he could easily get DEFCON again here. I feel like Coventry are gonna, you know, take the protagonism in this game, and I feel like Hull City defenders like Egan and Mendy, they're gonna be called upon to on defense. They could easily hit DEFCON. I think those two guys. Okay, James Hill from Bournemouth, a guy that we know based on what he did last season could hit DEFCON. I feel like this is a real good game for him to hit DEFCON against Everton here. Malik Jow, good enough name like against Spurs. Guy that gets you a lot of DEFCONs, good aerial threat, decent enough name. Ballard and Alderette, clean sheet. You're looking at for a clean sheet with these guys, but you're also looking for DEFCON. They're both really good for DEFCONs, and I feel like both of them have a really good aerial game as well. Okay, aerial threat and for a header goal, like both of them. Muharemovic, good name for Leeds. Okay, held the clean sheet first game, and he almost had a goal. If you guys watched that game, he almost had a header goal. He was off by this much. So yeah, very very good aerial threat. He has a lot of aerial threat. He could score headers and stuff. We know how much of a DEFCON beast he's predicted to be this season. Yeah, that's why I like him here. Lacroix, not really dependent on the Chelsea clean sheet. Like I said, I don't expect the Chelsea clean sheet against Brighton. But we know from last season, he's a guy that gets you a lot of DEFCONs, okay? Already got an assist this first game. Probably unlikely to keep a trend of goal contributions going, but just off of DEFCONs, I think he's a good name. Reece James, kind of opposite. Not maybe DEFCONs, but looking for goal involvement. I think Reece James is a shout. Not my favorite name, okay, but a name. Shaw, Maguire, looking for that Man United clean sheet, I like. Especially Maguire, looking for that, besides the clean sheet, DEFCON points and potentially an aerial goal. I like him, okay? Calafiori, Mosquera, Gabriel, White. We're obviously looking for that Arsenal clean sheet with potentially some goal involvements as well. We know that these guys can do that. We saw Calafiori do that. We saw Ben White do that. These Arsenal defenders, we know they usually tend to participate a lot in the attack, okay? Goalkeepers that I like here, maybe for game week 2 and some of these further on as well. Raya, obviously, set and forget keeper. The most clean sheets in the Premier League last season. Could do that again this season, okay? I feel like Arsenal could very well keep a clean sheet here against Villa, okay? Ruffs, for this game in particular, okay? Beyond that, it gets a little tricky for Sunderland. But I feel like this game, Ruffs is one of the best keepers you're going to have, okay? For this game week. Lawman's, same deal. For this game week in particular, I feel like Man United have real high clean sheet odds. Real good name. Donnarumma, 50-50 kind of name for clean sheet. But after this game, he has Coventry at home. Probably good enough odds for clean sheet there. So it's kind of a keeper that gives you 2 games, okay? A decent enough sequence, okay? Some teams to target, okay? Like Liverpool, they have Forest this game week. Next game week, they play Ipswich, which might be the toughest matchup out of these 3 games. This 3-game sequence they have. Not the easiest, but it's a decent enough game for Liverpool assets. And then they'll play Fulham in Anfield, okay? Game week 5, if I'm not mistaken, right? 2, 3. Game week 4, they play Fulham in Anfield, okay? Man City, like I said, decent enough game here against Palace. And then they play Coventry at home. That's going to be a real good fixture for Manchester City. And then Brentford, they play Leeds here away. And then they play Sunderland at home. 2 fixtures where I think we could see some points for the Brentford guys, okay? Good teams to target there. My transfer plans, as of right now, I plan on rolling, okay? I just plan on rolling. I'm going to follow the news, the predicted lineups up until the deadline on Friday. If I get news that, hey, Konza is nailed to start game week 2, which I doubt. It's not looking like that's going to be the case. It's looking like it's going to be Mosquera and Gabriel again. But if we get news that, hey, Konza is likely to... If I get confirmation Konza starting, then obviously I'll sub out Mosquera for Konza. But besides that, I'm rolling, okay? I feel like my team's very well put together to roll here. This is what the team's going to look like for game week 2 here, okay? My bad. I just had to get a drink real quick. Um, Raya, Mascara, double Arsenal clean sheet against a Villa side that looked pretty bad game week one. Kind of like how I kind of like how I predicted. I wasn't super confident on Villa. You guys saw that they kind of got destroyed by Brighton game week one. I feel like the double Arsenal clean sheet could be very good. It could definitely come to fruition. The Vardiol, why not target that Man City clean sheet? A guy that's showed game week one that he could get some goal involvements. We know he could get some Defcons as well. Good enough name. Ballard looking for that Sunderland clean sheet. We talked about him already. Goal threat, Defcon magnet, could have a real good score here. Maguire clean sheets, Defcons, aerial threat. Very good backline. I think very very good backline. Midfield, Embuemo looking for the goals for Man United, playing as a false nine basically, right? Palmer, we saw what he did game week one. Palmer, which in this matchup against Brighton, if you guys don't recall, I think it was 2 seasons ago, right? Had a Premier League record 4 goals and a half against Brighton. Okay, so am I saying it's gonna happen again? No, but he definitely has shown that he can produce points. Could be very good production wise against Brighton. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Verts, like I said, I find it hard that he's gonna get benched here. I think he starts again. He could have a bounce back game here. Okay, that's what I hope for. I hope that Verts delivers in my confidence that I have in him. Okay, I'm just gonna give him another shot here. Let's see what happens. It's Flo. It's Flo Verts. I think he's a really good player. Yeah, Foden, same deal. Same. Everything I just said for Verts works for Foden here. Okay, Holland. I think he gets on the score sheet here. Like I said, in this matchup last year, had 2 goals in Selhurst Park. I think he gets the season. He kicks off his goal scoring in this game for the season. I think JP law. You guys know the law of the X. Players always score against their old teams. It's a saying in South American soccer. Yeah, but regardless of that, JP could very well score against his former side here. It's always like that. Seems to be right. It's kind of a known kind of thing. But he just in general is one of the best forwards in the Premier League right now. Not much to talk about. Okay. In the bench, my bench order is going to be Slater first. I feel like Slater could maybe get a goal involvement. I don't think it's crazy to think about. But regardless, besides that, just Defcons. He's a guy that can get you a lot of Defcons. So he's a guy that could definitely guarantee us some points here on the bench. Maybe more so than Richards, which, like I said, I feel like City definitely score here, is my opinion. So the clean sheet's already gone for Chris. So maybe we're looking for some Defcon. But I feel like the ceiling, that's why I feel like the ceiling with Slater is better to prioritize him on the bench, okay? As usual, all my final teams for fantasy guys posted on my story an hour before the deadline for the individual fantasy games. FPL obviously gonna be on Friday. Follow me on Instagram. My final team's gonna be there in the story. And yeah, good luck. Peace out. Any questions in the comments? Peace out.